And we're here to talk about Fright, which is getting its premiere at FrightFest this year. So congratulations, but more congratulations that this is the 25th anniversary of FrightFest. So this is a really big year to get into the festival. How are you both feeling about being selected in the screening itself?
Really excited. Yeah, it was kind of in the post-production process. I was kind of aiming at the Fright submission date was kind of where we were always aiming at, and as post-production always does, it was taking longer and longer and longer, and so we ended up submitting like a work in progress version, sort of 45 minutes long, and thinking we'd never, that was no chance, but we'll give it a try, and they liked it. So, we're really excited. The 25th anniversary one, yeah, just incredibly privileged to do it, and having a Leicester Square premiere for our little movie is very, very exciting.
Yeah, it's super cool. I guess especially as it's my first feature film, for that to be premiering at such a big festival is really exciting. It's not a festival I've ever been to myself. But it's one I've absolutely heard of and have heard wonderful things about, and I know how big of a deal it is. So yeah, I was very much jumping up and down and very giddy when I found that we got in.
And how did this film come together? Where did the idea come from?
Well, it's an idea that had been kind of I had, I don't know, 2 or 3 years ago, which was I try not to too many spoilers, but the idea that a an agoraphobic person who had a sort of bereavement, family bereavement, how that would work. But of course, immediately you go to mobile phones, you go to, well, they'd just ring someone, they'd ring, and it all kind of that idea disappeared because of that. I like the idea of it. And then I was watching The Innocents one night late on TV, and I just thought, oh, we could set it in the 30s, and then all that becomes irrelevant. And so it kind of started there, really. And then I sort of looking around at locations and script ideas, and it all happened quite quickly after that. And yeah, just got a script together, got a great cast together, and away we went.
And for you, Gwyneth, what was it about, the script and the character of Emily that made you want to get involved?
I love the heightenedness of it. I know it was going to be a challenge in itself to keep it heightened but still be kind of truthful in the acting because I like trying to find so as much truth as I possibly can when I act. But I loved like just how tense and how heightened everything is, and I know just how like contained she feels in her own environment that she's lived in her whole life. I loved the idea of trying to explore that. I guess it's as an actor as well, it's really exciting to have a character that goes on such a big journey and has to kind of hit all these like emotional points. Because she's so kind of it's so intense by the end. Um, so yeah, I loved the idea of that.
And she spends much of the film on her own. I think a lot of the dialogue is coming from her inner monologue, diary entries, and then this is sort of like overlaid over sort of like montages of Emily, doing various things. How did you approach that as an actor? Because I imagine that a
Mm.
lot of the time you're not necessarily saying anything, you're having to react to things that aren't necessarily there.
Yeah, that was really interesting to do. Um, I guess essentially because especially because pretty much the whole film was filmed out of sequence. So I had to kind of make sure that I knew exactly where Emily was mentally, exactly the things that she's thinking and feeling. So I basically, yeah, every scene I kind of wrote out what's happening, where I've been, what thoughts are going through my head, what I'm trying to achieve, what's in my way. Um, and yeah, it was interesting, yeah, having very little scenes to have with someone to bounce off. I just kind of had to just completely put myself in that frame of mind and just in the space, and especially using the atmosphere of our filming location was fantastic because that really helped get into that frame of mind of just being stuck and trapped in this old house that's just completely falling apart. Yeah.
I was gonna, that leads me on nice to my next question. Given her agoraphobic tendencies, the film is is pretty much set all within this one house. Firstly, how did you guys find this location? Because I kind of feel it's its own character, and I think
It
a
really is.
different
Yeah, we Sussex Film Location is a business website who I've kind of worked with in the past, And I just, again, once I'd had the idea that we could set it, 100 odd years ago, uh, then it kind of just came down to locations. And I looked at a few. I kind of in my head initially thought it might be like in a small farmhouse that we could set up. And then I looked around those sort of 3 or 4 locations on their website, and I saw that place. I thought, okay, well, we're going to have a look. And you get there, and it's as you see it in the film. It looks like we've done, tens of thousands of pounds worth of set design. And we haven't done any set design. That is exactly as it looked. It was kind of run down. And initially, the script didn't have that in it. So I kind of tweaked the script a bit to feel like they'd been there and hadn't done any work on it for 20 odd years. So it feels sort of broken down. But the place is amazing. There's rooms upstairs we didn't use that was like a time capsule on a Gwyneth. You just kind of you go in there and there's like a little box, and it's a box of glasses lenses from 1941 that haven't been opened yet. You think this is honestly, it's just a mad house that just got deserted in the 50s and never lived in since. So it's kind of like it's stuck in time. And yeah, somebody did a deal with the owners of that, Antonia, who was lovely, and yeah, we filmed there for 10 days, which was good.
And how much do you think that, that the location did help with, setting the tone and atmosphere and style of the film?
Well, for me, all of it really. It kind of because all I'm doing basically, once you've got you're confident with your cast and everything's kind of ready to go, I'm just looking in the monitor and making sure it looks like an old movie, and that's kind of my job really. So I was doing that, but I imagine for Gwyneth and the cast, it must have been lovely to not be on like a sound stage, to actually be in the house, you know, that they lived in. Must have been quite something, I imagine.
Yeah, the whole atmosphere of the place was fantastic. And just like the coldness as well, because it was really cold, because obviously we were filming in like October. And that kind of just gave that even more energy just to my character, that she's just so tense all the time. And yeah, just the whole space very much got me in the character. It was fantastic.
I think another aspect of Emily is her appearance. As the film progresses, she starts to, I guess, in a way, sort of mirror the house. Her prim and proper, attire and appearance slowly becomes more dishevelled. You mentioned earlier that the film was, filmed out of sequence. Was that a nice sort of anchor to you to be going, okay, so this is the costume right now, so this means I'm in, this point in time.
Yeah, that is a good point. Yeah, especially when it got to the last moments where I just had the dirty dress with mud all over my face, messy hair. Just looking at myself, I was like, okay, yeah, she's obviously not okay. um,
Well, we had in the schedule, we had Emily had 3 outfits, which
mm,
was the dress she wears all the time, the clean nightie, the dirty nightie, and 3 haircuts, which was the hair scurf back, hair with one bit down, crazy hair. So it literally, because we were shooting it so out of sequence, it would be okay. Next scene is scene 51. It's outfit 2, hair 3,
we tried to
and
do a
off.
bit of
Yeah,
progression. The
off doing
first
for go to
scenes of the day,
makeup, and
usually I was,
yeah,
first scenes of the day I was usually all nice and done up. Then slowly we'd
yeah.
bring one piece down, and then it would be just messing it all up again.
Yes. I think Fright has a great sort of, Hitchcockian, like overbearing mother, and it's got like a nice mystery element to it. Were you inspired by, by Hitchcock, either, his work with actors, or, just his stories? Was that something you looked to?
Yeah, I mean, stories wise, of course, and it's even if we get even close to that, obviously it's amazing. But there are shots, the shot where Gwyneth pushes open the basement door. Uh, it's just classic of that time. And there were certain bits where I kind of looked at it and thought we can really, really sort of mirror uh, that kind of film. It wasn't so much Hitchcock. I did, yeah, watch some, but I just watched loads of those old sort of hammy old 50s black and white horrors just to get a feel of how it was done, and how little regard I mean, the lighting is everything in it, but also they have so little regard to key lighting, and which shooting traditionally, you'd make sure your key lights are all in the right place and that every bit of light makes sense. Whereas with our film, it doesn't really. By the end, none of the light really makes sense because there's light coming in from everywhere just to give us beautiful shadows and crazy stuff. So that's very much of its time, I think. Hopefully, that was always the plan, that it would kind of have a feel of a classic old thriller.
For you, Gwyneth, was it a lot of watching films from that era?
Yeah, I did watch a good handful. I did, especially The Innocents, because that was one like in particular that yeah, was a lot of inspiration from, and just kind of gathering that, yeah, just the feel of that heightened and just like the energy that comes through them, as well as like the acting style as well. Because it is interesting how like acting style has developed over time. Like you don't really think about it, but when you do watch older films, it's like, oh wow, that's so different, but it still works
Mm.
because it just suits just how it all comes together. It's all complementary. So yeah, it was really useful.
Yeah, because everything was heightened, wasn't it? Obviously, your performances were heightened, the makeup's heightened, the hair's heightened, the lighting's, everything's too big, really, particularly as the film moves on. And I think, yeah, that was kind of always in my mind, that pushing it as far as you go without pushing it too far, without it becoming a sort of parody of one of those films, but just remaining a homage.
There
I
were
think
a
it does.
couple of points you told me to rein in the accent.
I
That's going
did.
just a
I
bit.
did. Yeah, I said to Gwyneth at one point, I'm never going to say this again, but can you be a bit less posh?
But I think that it's obviously Fright Fest has so many different genres on display, and I think that Fright is a nice throwback to the films of yesteryear, because I mean the horror genre has gone on into such different directions. Do you kind of feel that maybe every now and again we do need to revisit where we came from?
Oh, look, I don't know. I hope so. But I think that that's what I tried to do, really, is just make something. I'm always trying to, take the tiny budgets I work with and do something as interesting as I can with it, really. And again, it's just knowing what you can do with what you've got. You know what I mean? With the time, we had a tiny crew of about 4 or 5 people, and we're going from a cast of two, really. And so you've got to think, how can we turn that into something that looks quite grand and big and effective? And obviously, we've got the music and sound design have come in and done a great job. And yeah, I think yeah, it's always going to be, that was always the goal, was to make something that looked like an old movie. If we've got close to it, fantastic.
And do you think that maybe audiences might view this film slightly differently, having lived through something like lockdown? So I feel
Oh,
like
that's interesting.
pre-lockdown people would have maybe viewed it in one way, but now I think we can all put ourselves in Emily's shoes. We're not necessarily agoraphobic, but for a period of time we were trapped in our houses. Do you think that maybe the audience are going to react slightly
Well,
differently?
it's the first time I've thought that, Kat. So that's good. That's the first time that's come into my head, and thank you for that, because I hope so. That makes sense. I think that's interesting. I think it's yeah, it could easily have been a lockdown story, couldn't it? Because that's
I
kind of
feel like there's a lot of lockdowny type things that have come since lockdown that people haven't even intended to be a
Mm,
thing. So maybe it's just something that's just in our subconscious that we are scared of being trapped again, not being able
mm.
to go outside.
Yeah, I agree. And obviously, at the minute, tickets are on sale for Fright, and pass holders get their opportunity to get their seats
Yeah.
very soon. Why do you both hope that people take a chance on this film?
I just again, like as you said, it was just something a bit different. I think that's what I'd hope it is. I don't think there's anything else like it at the festival, and I'm not sure there's much else like it kind of around, really. And if that is, that is hopefully reason enough to give it a try. I think it'll split an audience, I guess, because I think some people won't, buy into the old 1950s thing we've done. But if you do, then I think it's quite a scary little movie. I think that it'd be lovely to get a nice little full house in there and see how they think about it. I'll be incredibly nervous, obviously. I won't enjoy any of it, but
I agree. I think it is something different. I hope that people don't read the description and then a bit like meh, because they're like, oh, classic old film. I want something new and fresh. But it's like, I don't know, the amount of like love and uh, I don't know, just like the details and stuff we put into it. I'd be really sad if we didn't sell out. Because I think it deserves to be seen. I haven't actually watched it yet myself
yeah,
because I'm
Gwyneth hasn't seen it yet, so it's
waiting for the
Are you
press.
saving it for the festival?
Yeah, I want to see it for the first time on a big screen. I want it to be there. But I don't know, just like the whole atmosphere of when we were filming it, it just felt like we were making something really, really intense and really special and different. And I hope that means people will come and see it.
Me too.
Well, I wish you guys the best of luck with the screening.
Thank you very much. Yes, thanks, Kat.